I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is Our Nerdiest Thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today we are discussing Lara Buckheit's A Realm of Ash and Shadow, part 2 of our discussion, chapters 14 through 24. And this is a spoiler-heavy podcast, so listen at your own risk.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know, that sounded a little ominous, didn't it? Deb, before we get going, will you please share our nerdiest cocktail?
Yes, I was just saying that I'm already halfway through it, so we're going to have to take a break and get a refill because it's delicious. Tonight's drink is named Vemdour's Dark Magic Elixir.
Oh.
Yeah. It's themed after disgusting dinner parties and tapping into your inner magic. It pairs well with freshly plucked eyeballs, picking fights with scary gods, and daddy issues. And it may cause ripping out the heart of the high school mean girl. You'll need black vodka, lemonade, and soda water. And the recipe is on yesterday's Instagram post and at ournerdiestthing.com.
Thank you, Deb. And thank you, Mindy, as it's a yummy little cocktail.
It is.
Good
Very
job.
refreshing.
Before we get into anything else, Mindy, have you spun the Wheel o' Names?
I have, and guess who? It's my turn.
Mindy.
Sucker.
Go.
1. Mistress Marjorie crashes the King's Council meeting with news that the Realm of the Forsaken have Mason, and Val goes off on Gideon. Val visits Sable and Breedy, and they have a very improper day. Val and Sable mend their friendship, but Malachi is still pissed at Val. Val and Gideon make out and make up. Gideon, Malachi, and Val steal food from the castle to go feed the poor. Val and Gideon set a specter free, and there's a revolution brewing, so Val proves her loyalty by joining it publicly. 5. Gideon throws Val a graduation party, and it's just the sweetest thing ever. 6. Caden wants to trade Mason for Val and sends Mason's detached arm to choke her. 7. Val and Gideon get it on. 8. Val meets Vemdour in the Realm of the Forsaken, and somehow he's both hideous and hot. Also, Caden is there. 9. Val attends Vemdour's foul dinner party where they eat mortal body parts. She refuses to eat eyeballs and challenges Vemdour. She laughs at him when his punishment is to ground her. 10. Val learns she has magic and power, and Vemdour helps her tap into it. He lets her practice on Elodie, and Val rips her heart out. Take that, bitch.
Boom.
Nice.
Damn.
4 seconds to spare.
That was nice.
Good job.
Way
Yeah,
to go.
there was a lot that happened.
Yes, there
This was a very...
It's so funny because this
Crazy
book
chapter.
isn't long, but a lot happens without it feeling rushed at the same time.
That's part of the reason I love it.
Yeah, it moves quick, but there's still no shortage of story, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's paced really well.
yeah.
I can't wait to have Lara on next week so we can talk more about all of this with her because I have a shit ton of questions.
I was just about to say, I need a couple of explanations, please.
Just a couple.
Before we get going into this section, Mindy, will you please do our nerdiest vocabulary?
I will. This one's short and sweet. I just kind of focused on the two main characters. Well, I guess the two love interests, so to speak.
Val has like 4 love interests. Which one?
I mean, that's true.
3, I guess.
I said that and I'm like,
Mason.
wait a second. They don't know which one. My favorite.
4.
How about that? It's my favorite love interest.
Okay, who's that?
It's Gideon.
Yay!
Because I mean,
That's my
seriously,
favorite.
she's got Mason, Gideon, Vemdour, and Malachi, and,
Yeah.
and herself.
Full disclosure, I looked up Mason and it was boring, and Vemdour isn't in the catalog of names.
I think that you
Wow.
need to add it.
So I just focused on Gideon and Valeria. So Gideon means feller, and like that's not like, hey, feller. That's what I thought at first.
That's what I was
How
just
you doing,
thinking.
Grandpa?
Hey, feller.
So it'll make sense after.
Sorry.
Oh God! Oh, episode title.
Anyway, a
Hey,
feller.
A feller, a hewer.
Okay, but I don't know what a feller is
Would
now.
you-
I'm so confused.
Keep listening.
Oh, sorry.
Or one who cuts down. So he's like a tree cutter.
Oh,
Basically,
he fells trees.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
like all I can picture.
So a lumberjack.
A blonde lumberjack. That's what I picture now.
Yeah, like don't call it a feller. What the fuck is that?
That's what they called it in the old.
I want to know what the difference between a feller and a lumberjack is.
Isn't
It's the same thing, right?
The Bounty paper towel guy a blonde lumberjack?
Is he blonde?
I think he's got like
think he's
sandy brown hair.
Yeah. Okay.
So
and a beard.
Because I can't
side
picture
note-
that as Gideon.
Side note, one of my worst nightmares growing up was that I was in a house by myself and there was like something outside that was coming to get me. And seriously, it was so scary. You're going to laugh, but it was a giant version of like the Bounty lumberjack guy. And he was like shaking the house and trying to get in. And the only thing that would make him go away is if I threw potatoes at him.
I thought you were going to say paper towels.
Oh my God.
No, my 6-year-old mind didn't make that connection. But
Did you just throw potatoes like out the door? Or
out the window?
Out the window?
Because he's tall, so I could throw him at his face.
Who
I was like,
traumatized
okay.
you with a thing of paper towels?
I don't know. I've never been able to use a paper towel since then. I'm just kidding.
God help us if there's a spill.
All right. Fuck it. No, the bounty guy's going to come get me. All right. So the bounty paper towel man is Gideon.
Gideon's a feller.
Yes, he's. But it can also mean great warrior, which is.
Well, that's better.
But it's kind of ironic because he wanted to be a Celestian and he isn't.
Yeah.
He
You
wasn't
wouldn't say
allowed to
that the
be.
bounty paper towel man is a great warrior?
Not if he can get taken down by potatoes.
Well, if someone threw a potato at your face, it'd probably take you down too.
I'm not a lumberjack feller.
This is much more entertaining than I thought it would be.
You're like, this is going to be quick. Not with us.
No.
Sorry. Not sorry.
So moving on to Valeria, which is also obviously from the word or the name Valerie. And that means strong, brave, and healthy.
Well,
Which
that's
she
nice.
is, all
yeah,
three.
good for her.
So, of course, I went to Urban Dictionary. And interestingly enough, after 5 pages of Urban Dictionary for each one, not a single entry for Valeria was negative. They were all nice. So basically, they all said she was beautiful and sweet and funny.
Well,
But nobody said she
I
was
don't
a
know
badass.
if I'd call her
'cause-
sweet or not.
Yeah, I know. Nobody.
she can be.
Nobody said she was a badass. Nobody said she was snarky. I'm like, I don't think they really know her.
She's sweet to the little girl.
That is true.
Yeah,
Brini.
Breenie.
So conversely,
How do you say that?
I say
Indy?
Brainy.
Breenie. Okay, that's what I say too.
Conversely, you either love or you hate Gideon on her Urban Dictionary. He is either a sweet, hardworking guy or an annoying gamer.
If
Okay.
Gideon lived in the mortal realm, he would definitely
He
be
would
a
Oh,
gamer.
he for
Yeah.
sure would
Yeah.
be.
I mean, fair.
Yep.
Tough, but fair.
Yes. So now you're enlightened about
Our feller.
our feller and his mate.
Okay, we're gonna fan cast next week, and I gotta get this lumberjack thing out of my head because that's not doing it for
not
me.
gonna
Yeah, no.
And he's supposed to
That's-
be hot.
That's not how I picture him. So
Right.
I
my
mean, there
fan
are
cast
hot
will
lumberjacks,
be
but
different.
they're not named Gideon, and they're not in this
They're
book.
named like Doug.
Have you guys not seen?
See, I think Vincent.
There's a true feller, a feller of trees on TikTok. You know, he shows up on my FYP sometimes. But his name,
does he
his name
now?
on TikTok, his name on TikTok, I think is like Bradley Thor. But he literally is like a lumberjack, and he like his wife, bless her, like videos him doing all these thirst trap like cutting down trees and stuff. Sometimes they're really funny, but.
I mean,
He's
if
a-
my husband
he's a
was a hot
lumberjack.
lumberjack, I'd probably do thirst traps too.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of followers, so
Yeah.
I'm sure
Wow.
that they're monetizing. Hopefully, they're monetizing that.
Go follow
very
the
well.
sexy
so,
lumberjack.
yeah.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Hopefully, this is not one of
Did you
those
say
episodes
Brad
where Robbie
Thor?
listens. Yeah, it's his name on TikTok is like and TikTok is Bradley Bradley Thor. I think.
Yeah,
I think
That's not his real last name.
no. I think his last name is like Thorensen or something like that, and he just
but Thor sounds more awesome,
Sounds
and it
cooler.
exudes sexiness and manliness.
right. Sure.
Thanks a lot, Hemsworth.
Yeah. Sometimes Robbie listens to these when he travels, and he's getting ready to start traveling a lot. But
That's okay.
I don't like big lumberjack men. I like my guys less beefy. I said that to him one
It's
time.
okay. It's okay to be attracted to different types of people. Also, don't forget, my husband fully edits these. So sometimes I get a text like in the Soul and Ash and Blood when you were like, voyeurism is hot. And I was like, yeah, it is. So I get a text from my husband and he's like, so like, you just want people to watch us do it? And I'm like, no, that is not what I said. But sure.
Oh my goodness.
Well, before I get us anywhere more off the rails, let's get into our favorite moment from this set of chapters, 14 through 24. I'll go first. I love Gideon. So a lot of my favorite things and best things are just Gideon things. So just be ready for that.
I gotta say it out loud. I find Gideon a little boring.
I like Gideon.
I think he's hot, and I think he's got a really good heart, and we find out some things in this book about him, that explain all of that. But like, I just am a Vemdour girl.
I'm a sucker for the fated mate trope. Right. So I'm all about that.
I feel like he's a romantic, and I'm a little sucker for
me too.
that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But no, I loved the very beginning of this set of chapters. A horrible thing happening first, where her dad is basically like, I'm going to beat you until you're unrecognizable unless you do what I want you to do. And it was horrible. But Gideon kind of like steps in to protect her and is like, I'm not going to let him touch you. I'm not going to let him do this to you. And, it's not a small thing to go up against the king, right? Although that rhymed.
It's not a small thing to go up against the king.
We've been watching a lot of Lion Guard in my house, so I feel like it's permeating.
Disney plus Lion King?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Simba's
and they rhyme
kids.
a lot, I guess.
They sang a lot of songs, and the songs rhyme. So.
Gosh, I'm so glad I'm out of that phase.
It's not horrible, honestly, as far as kid shows go, but it's kind of a big thing, I think, for Gideon to even just a little bit go up against his ruler, especially one who is so horrible and very quick to hurt people that don't do what he wants them to do. I just really appreciated his willingness to face whatever consequences he needed to make sure that he could protect Val. Yeah. I really liked that a lot. Sweet. So that was my favorite moment.
Yeah, I have wondered where Gideon's like loyalty, not even loyalty to her, but bravery when it comes to her comes from, because the king is known for outright just slaughtering people. So I find it surprising sometimes that he is willing to do that. And I don't know if that's like the fated mates thing or the soulmate thing or
that's what I assume, that it's the bond.
But I
also
can't believe that he has not been murdered yet, to be honest.
But he also fights demons and whatnot as well. So he's got that.
He's capable of defending himself. Yeah, that's true. But I just assume, I think of it like the ACOTAR type of mate, where it's like a biological thing that you can't help.
Not do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have to protect your mate. You can't not protect your mate, but maybe not. That's just the way I think of it. Too. Mindy, what was your favorite moment?
So I had two. One of them does involve Gideon. I, again, am such a romantic. So when Gideon throws that graduation for Val, complete with the diploma and the gift of smutty books and her favorite foods, like he listened to her.
That was cute.
He listened to her, and then he got her all those things. It's just such a sweet gesture.
It was really cute.
I feel like everybody needs a Gideon in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the paying attention piece is
exactly.
It's like the bar is so low.
Huge.
but it's still, yeah.
Because yes, I think Gideon's cute, but like none of this does it for me. Like at all. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I like it, but again, it's Vemdour where I'm like, oh, you want to bring her closer to her power? Oh, you're going to like kill someone for her? I think I like it.
Brian is kind of like Gideon, so maybe it's like you already have all that. And so,
yes, I'm so fulfilled on the romantic part of my life that I just need a little bit of choking.
You're going to get another text when he edits this episode.
I don't really want to be choked, but, it's just a good example.
You got to be careful with what you say on here.
I know, right?
What was your favorite moment, Deb?
So my favorite moment. Wait, didn't you have a second one?
Oh, I did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's when Val, Sable, and Brainy have a not proper day. I just love it when Brainy whispers shit. And the moment that Val and Brainy share about their parents' death was really sweet, too.
Yeah. That was also my favorite moment. I really loved it when Val went to visit Sable and Brainy. Not only did she begin to patch up her relationship with her, but she also helped Brainy act like an improper lady by doing all of the fun things that dudes get to do. For example, sitting improperly, swearing, like you said, Brainy whispers shit, which I find hilarious, speaking with their mouths full, sitting around in their underwear, and dancing like mad women. That was one of my favorite things where it's like, if anyone looked, you would think we were witches under a full moon. And I'm like, for dancing, God forbid, right? So it really got me wondering why these etiquette rules are in place for women and what other bonkers things are expected of us. I'm sure we can all think of a million off the top of our head. I did learn 2 things while doing this research. Number 1, I would never be considered a proper lady. And honestly, I'm really proud not to be, because this is just ridiculous. And number 2, etiquette is really used to control women and conform them to gender roles. And I knew it was always ridiculous, but I'd never really thought about it that way. So first, I want to chat about outdated etiquette, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some etiquette that was released just this last year by a blogger, and then I'm going to compare that to men's etiquette guides so we can just see the glaring differences.
I'm very interested in this.
Okay,
I bet it won't make us mad at all.
No, I texted you guys last week, and I was like, I should not be drinking wine while I'm researching this. I'm getting all pissed off. So let's chat about the outdated etiquette rules that have been expected of women that are really just outright laughable. These are all from an article written by Good Housekeeping, who, for the record, also admits that these are ridiculous. So
yeah.
They are with me on this. Okay, so number 1, a woman is expected to look good for her husband at all times. This includes wearing her hair up, except for in the bedroom. And so my thought was, does this mean that my greasy, messy bun is socially acceptable? Like everywhere I go, I'm a true lady for pulling my hair up into a top knot.
You're welcome.
Right. I didn't wash my hair today. I better pull it up and look like a lady. Yeah. Okay, number 2, a lady should never carry her dress with 2 hands. When crossing the street, it's expected that a lady carry her dress in her right hand, lifted outward to the right. This method ensured that not only did the appropriate amount of ankle be exposed, but the left hand was free to greet others.
Oh.
Right? So don't show your calf. You might go to hell.
That wouldn't have fly in the 80s with the leather mini skirts.
I was just
I know,
gonna say,
right?
When are these from? Do we know?
So a lot of them are from like the early 1900s.
Okay.
But you'll see as we get further into them, some of them aren't. Okay, so number 3, experts advise mothers not to play with their babies until they're 4 to 6 months old, as to not spoil them.
Oh,
So
well,
they were literally
obviously.
supposed to ignore them. Number 4.
This explains a lot.
Right. What's wrong with our mothers and fathers, right? Why did they feel like they couldn't have emotions? That's nuts. Okay, so number 4, we should all refrain from having impure thoughts, especially while we're pregnant.
Oh my gosh. So
didn't impure thoughts get you in that
Right.
situation
Well,
to
you're
begin
not
with?
supposed to have sex and enjoy it, Mindy. I mean, come on. That's not what a lady would do.
it makes me think I have a friend. It wasn't me. I wish it was. I was disappointed I did not have the same experience
I
in my
didn't get the horny
pregnancies.
gene when I was pregnant.
No, I had a friend that had such explicit and graphic lifelike dreams that she would wake up like having an orgasm.
Like wet dreams?
Yes.
Dang.
Yes.
Did she have like 4 kids? Because I would have kept getting pregnant.
No, but I was like, ooh, maybe that'll happen when I'm pregnant. And then it didn't. And I was really
like,
bummed.
don't touch me. Don't look at me.
Right.
Don't,
Yeah.
But like, you can't help that. Your hormones go crazy.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
This
No,
makes me
mine did
mad.
not.
That's fine.
Okay, so number 5. Women needed to make sure that men know that they were wanted. So as shared in the 1938 issue of Mademoiselle, one should have their mother send flowers to their dorm room so their male peers think that they are high in demand. But don't forget, I'm sitting here thinking, you don't want to look like a slut, so make sure you don't send too many flowers. Just like, some flowers every once in a while. But can you imagine going to your mom and being like, you should send me flowers so these guys will ask me out?
I thought you meant that girls should let guys know that they want the guy is wanted.
Oh,
I was like, how are
And
you
I'm like, how are you
supposed
supposed to do that without thinking impure thoughts?
right, exactly.
But then this is worse than that, I feel like.
It is. Okay, so this is a big one for me. A lady should not be able to, quote unquote, hold her liquor and should never have more than 1 glass of champagne.
Well, hey, I've got that one down. I'm doing it, guys.
I'm a very
I'm a
expensive date. Number 7. A well-mannered woman should smile when talking on the phone.
Oh, fuck that shit.
On the phone?
On the
Why?
phone.
Nobody can see
They
you.
can't see you.
Okay,
I don't want to
so-
talk on the phone at all, first of all.
Me
Right.
either.
Number 8, you should send your daughter to charm school. I don't agree with that, but I do know some guys that should have went. I'm just saying, just simple manners. That's all it takes.
like table manners.
And number 9 from this article, ladies should avoid having dead fish hands, which essentially means letting your hands dangle needlessly at your sides.
Like T-Rex arms?
No, I think like if if your hands were at their sides, you were supposed to either like hold them together or like have your hands in some sort of delicate way. You don't want dead fish hands.
That makes me think of...
I'll just put a drink in each hand.
Right?
Yeah.
That makes me think of Talladega Nights when Will Ferrell's like, I don't know what to do
with my hands.
That's what that makes me
Reminds me
think
of the
of.
Supernatural episode when they go into the real world
The
where
French
they're
Mistake.
actors, and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Yeah,
That's how they do it.
I need all three of them craps, or what does he say? Something like that. Okay, so let's flip to an article that was written just last year and then updated this year in June 2023, so 2 months ago.
This is really going to piss me off.
I know, right?
It was titled 42 Social Etiquette Rules a Lady Should Know.
42? That's a lot.
And
I can't remember that.
And this is from theladylovesliving.com. So I'm going to point out several of the rules that she wrote that are written in the article should apply to everyone in society, not just to women. And I know plenty of people of the male gender should adhere to these, like putting your shopping cart back when you're done using it, wiping down the gym equipment, and being a clean house guest. Those are like, of course, you should do that. But there are a few in here that would never be on a dude's etiquette list. So I'm going to list some of these and then also tell you what I found in some of the guys' etiquette lists that are completely opposite of what the women's are. Okay. We're going to go back to the smiling thing, right? Again, I want to point out this was written a year ago and just updated. Number 1, smile. People like happy people. It doesn't matter if they don't smile back or not. Spread a little sunshine. And on the flip side, this is what the guy's etiquette guide says. When you go into a social situation, assume people like you. Okay, number 2 from the 42 social etiquette rules. Use your inside voice. I'm laughing because we laugh so hard on this. What are you laughing about, Whit?
I feel like... Sorry. I just got in my own head a lot, and I feel like I've just made a really insane sound. I feel like I just...
Okay, well, look, this etiquette applies to all of us. Use your inside voice.
I feel like I just laughed like Michael Sheen in Twilight. Sorry, it gave me the giggles.
Okay, so it's incredibly rare that a lady will need to shout. Only increase your volume if someone says they cannot hear you. Even better, move closer to them. Okay, so if someone can't hear you, make sure you move closer to them and make less space for yourself. That's exactly what we're being told to do here. Okay, number 3, be a good hostess. Anytime someone is coming inside your home, be sure to at least offer them a beverage. Here's what the guy's etiquette guide says. It kind of says the same, but also tells them to be the life of the party. So number 1 in this guide says, always greet your guests at the door and make them feel welcome in your home immediately. And make sure everyone's drinks are topped up. Half-pissed guests are way easier to impress anyway.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay. Number 4, watch your language. Curse words are for those without robust vocabulary. Use them incredibly sparingly. And I put, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
I love cuss words, and I don't think there's anything wrong with them.
There was an article out recently that said if you curse,
you're smarter.
You
or
tend to be
something.
more intelligent.
Right.
Yeah.
They're sentence enhancers.
They are.
Okay, so number 5, greet everyone when entering a room. No one likes to feel ignored. Let people feel seen by you.
Nobody better greet me when I walk in the room.
Okay,
I don't want to talk to anybody.
I really don't.
Here's what the guy says, and the reason I put this one in here is it's because it's like toxic masculinity at its core. So the guy's etiquette guide says, shake hands firmly, but don't overdo it. You're not impressing anyone with your bone-crushing kung fu grip. You're just making yourself look insecure. So women are supposed to greet everyone, and men are supposed to not, essentially, because it makes you look insecure if you're a dude. Number 6.
If you're like too enthusiastic about it. Yeah.
Okay, number 6. Again, I want to point out this was written a year ago. This really bothered me. Sit like an aristocrat. The Cambridge Cross favored by Kate Middleton or the Sussex Slant favored by Meghan Markle are the classiest ways a lady can sit. The Cambridge Cross is done by crossing your legs at the ankles with your heels planted on the floor. The Sussex Slant is done by keeping your knees and ankles together and slanting your calves to make a zigzag shape.
And both of those require a large stick up your ass.
Right. So
Well,
I'm not an aristocrat, but sitting that way is extremely uncomfortable.
It is.
Well, they sit that way because there are disgusting paparazzi that would love to get a picture of up their skirts.
But
you know what I mean?
Also recommend the Cambridge Cross or the Sussex Slant. Next time I sit next to a middle-aged white guy on a plane and he's sitting spread eagle.
Yeah.
Can I be like, can you please use the Cambridge Cross? This is inappropriate.
I really
and you're all
hate
up in my
manspreading.
space. Okay, right.
It's
Number
like,
7.
Your stuff's not that big. You know,
No,
it's
it is
just,
not.
It's not.
Put your thighs together. We're told to do it every day.
Right?
Push your thighs together, dude.
Yep.
Number 7, dress for the occasion. Know what to wear and when. Sometimes a more modest look is required, and there are times to show a little skin. Loungewear and pajamas are for indoors only.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
She doesn't shop at Walmart.
She definitely does. But you know what? Even at these high-end stores, like loungewear is very acceptable.
It is.
All
I'm
my
sorry.
daughter wears.
Right. Oh, mine too. I know the girls have it so easy now because I had to wear like those jeans that like showed your thong at the top, and my daughter's like, "Where's my sweats?" And I'm like, "You are so lucky. I love it."
I used to wear pajama pants to school.
Oh yeah.
When my daughter was in middle school, she went to school near a high school, and she said all the high schoolers would come in the mornings with wearing blankets, basically.
I had kids come to my class with blankets. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to sleep in there anyway. Why not? Right?
Right.
Because you had like rude kids sometimes, didn't you? That were just like, yeah, I'm just going to sleep.
Especially the kids that I had first of the day.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Number 8, lead by example. Always mind your manners, no matter the environment. You never know who's watching, especially if there's children around.
Jesus is always watching.
That's right. So here's what it says for quote unquote the gentleman. On the internet, learn your privacy settings inside and out before getting trigger happy. Do you honestly want your boss or potential employer seeing that photo of you drinking Carlsberg out of a shoe at university? So it's okay for the guy to have poor manners as long as it's not on the internet.
Yeah, as long as the
essentially
right
what I'm saying.
people
Just-
don't see it.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just don't let anybody know.
Also for the dudes, it's recommended that they take chances. Don't constantly be reckless, but sometimes going a little outside of your comfort zone and taking a risk with something can yield incredible results. You'll always regret the chances you didn't take because even if you fail, no one's ever said that they're sorry they tried. But I'm pretty sure that every woman has apologized for this at some point in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Number 9. My 9th example from the article, Social Etiquette Rules All Ladies Should Know, is to steer clear of controversial topics at dinners or parties. We're not here we're not here to have fun. Oh, I'm sorry. We're here to have fun, not spark debate. On the other hand, for dudes, it is recommended that a gentleman always reads and stays current to world news and his surroundings.
So you can talk about it.
So you can talk about
and
it.
sound educated. Right.
Okay, so finally, a men's etiquette article that I read ended with, there are no rules. Except for laws, you should follow those. So we have 42 rules for the ladies. And yep, you heard it right. None for the men. There are no rules. Shocker.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we can definitely see the differences that are shown between the rules for men and women. And I wanted to share this great article called New Etiquette for Women. And this is something that everyone should read. It was written 5 years prior to the 42 social etiquette rules that I, just laid out for you all. So the 42 rules are to keep us barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. And then this other article, which was written 5 years prior, is really to help us become more socially acceptable like men are, right? Mm-hmm. So there were 3 things in here that really stood out to me. So number 1, women do not have to be someone's emotional rock just because they are female. It's important for other people to feel their own feelings. You don't have to be the Cliff Notes version of self-help. Allow people to tap into the resources they have access to instead of depending on you. Which I was like, okay, so this was the one that really got to me because I hear this all the time. Women do not have to enable men to have bad manners for forgetting gifts, dates, etc. Thoughtfulness is good manners, but letting a dude outsource thoughtfulness to us as women, like we're a call center, is not.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that's like, well, he's a guy. He forgot. Well, I didn't. I have it written down. Why can't you fucking write it down? Okay. The last one in this article that I really loved was one does not need to be polite to mansplainers. So this article recommends that we give mansplainers 3 conversational prompts max, and that includes, how are you? And if they don't ask you anything in return or try to keep the conversation going, you can politely turn the conversation to your cat's urinary tract infection until they melt away. Okay, so I could really talk for 500 years about this and about these etiquette rules that are really made to keep women in their place, but we try to keep these podcasts at least somewhat short, you know. So there are a couple articles everyone should read, and I will post all these in the show notes. So, gentlemen first. I'm not going to lie. When I visited the artofmanliness.com, I thought I was going to get tons of feminine fodder for this deep dive, but it actually was a really great article about how not to be a douchebag.
Yeah.
So that will be one that I post. Women can go visit theswaddle.com, and there's an article called Etiquette Has Always Been Used to Control Women. And then there's another article called Good Manners Often Mask Sexism. And those will both be linked in the show notes. So I'm in a bad mood now.
Well,
how about you guys?
Let me pull it back to the scene for a little bit, because it just sparked something in me. What's very intriguing about this whole thing is that Malachi in this scene is the one that's kind of a prude. Like, he's not as comfortable doing all the improper things, which I kind of love.
See,
that Lara
I felt
did
like
that.
he was uncomfortable with them doing the improper things.
But see, now the being in your underwear, I know that he like turned around.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I got the impression that he wasn't really into it. Like, he didn't
I
want to
get
be.
the impression, though, that their underwear were like what Claire
Bloomers.
Fraser wears to bed, like the big white shift.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not really underwear.
Yeah.
While you were talking about all that etiquette, it reminded me when I was a kid, my sister and I were big, shout out to Catherine. We were big into the American Girl dolls, and I had Molly from World War II, which I was really into, and she had Samantha from like the Great Depression.
I was going to say from Sex and the City.
No, oh gosh, no. But I always wanted to be like Samantha.
Tell me more about Samantha, because I was too old for American Girl.
It was basically like Great Depression-ish, probably a little bit before
Did
that.
she carry around like an expensive loaf of bread?
No, she was wealthy, and she lived with her, I think it was grandmother, or like the grandmother had a special name, but I can't remember.
grandmama?
No, I can't remember what it was, but it was the same kind of like, Samantha, you must be, proper etiquette. Da, da, da. And I was like, I want to be like Samantha.
And then we all realized we don't grow into grace, right? I always
I-
thought I was going to be a graceful woman.
I remember at one point I started calling my mom Mother. And my sister, I remember very distinctly, shout out to Catherine, that she was like, that's stupid. Why are you calling her Mother? You've never called her that ever. And I remember my mom being like, it really is not a big deal, but it made me feel dumb.
But also your mom was like, stop calling me Mother. It sounds like we're in a scary movie. That's how all
Probably.
scary movies start. The villain calls their mom Mother.
Yes, Mother.
Is this your origin story? Whit?
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's do our least favorite moment.
Mine was my deep dive. No,
Mindy, what was your least
I was
favorite?
going to say I have 2. One is just made me mad, and one was just gross. So the first one was when her stupid dad tried to pass that law so that she couldn't succeed him because he doesn't think women should lead.
Right.
Fuck you, King Ward.
Right.
I was so pissed about that. And then the one that grossed me out was, of course, the nasty dinner party where they were eating eyeballs and shit.
Yeah.
That shit was gross.
It was really gross.
it reminded me of that episode of The Great.
Yes.
Oh, you need to watch that,
I don't
Whitney.
watch- I don't
That is
know.
a Whitney show.
It's
100%.
so good.
Especially if you liked Depression era Samantha.
I thought you were going to just say depression. If you like depression, if I got the show for
it's
you.
actually really funny. Well, my favorite or my least favorite moment, I'm sorry. I really struggled with Val at this point in the book. I get that she's kind of going through this life change. She's trying to figure out who she is, but she's pretty selfish at a lot of
Yes.
points. And I really
She definitely
disliked
is.
when Val told Gideon that the soulmate bond was a punishment. Her character is so self-centered, but lashing out against everyone who has been kind to her really pissed me off, to be honest.
I agree with that.
Gideon helped her defeat the demons. He traveled with her. He takes her shit on a daily, and she still is really kind of awful to him. And he threw her a graduation party.
That was cute.
I mean, I mean, he does everything for her, and she's like, this is a punishment. And I'm like, bitch, someone being in love with you is never a punishment.
He seems like, for all intents and purposes that she has seen, he seems like a good guy, right? I think it's just the choice, the lack of choice of it all, but I totally agree. I was really annoyed with a lot of her choices.
Being frustrated at lack of choice, but don't tell someone they're a punishment.
Right, because he also did not get a choice.
Right. 100%.
So.
Yeah. What was yours, Whit?
Vemdour. All of it. I wrote down Vemdour in general. Ugh. That's what I wrote down.
What are you going to do if he ends up being a resand?
I mean, well, let me read you this note that I wrote at one point. I don't know what chapter this was, but I said, if this becomes a love triangle and Gideon is Tamlin, I will be so mad. That's what I wrote down.
See, I really hope he I don't want Gideon to be Tamlin, but I do want Vemdour to be more like Rhysand. I want him to have, intentions that are worthy, right? But he came across very, I wrote down Rasputin-esque to me. Very like, I'm going to act like I'm here to help you, but I have my own very selfish motivations, and I'm not the super helpful like advisor guy that you think that I am. I guess I don't trust anyone that's leading the realm of the Forsaken, so I never really thought he was actually trying to help her.
Well, but I think he's acting like it, especially at the end of this section where he's like, I can help you with this power. Let me show you how to train. And right.
Yeah. I definitely never trusted him though. Like I could tell that he always had an ulterior motive, but I think my struggle with Vemdour is I had to try to like make myself picture him as hot, because she kept saying he was when she would see him with the glamour or whatever.
Yeah.
But every time I picture him at something out of like the Dark Crystal or like that weird thing from Riverdale, the like the god that they worshipped. I could not see him as attractive.
It's on our Instagram, but I did do a sketch of like kind of his both halves, and I sent it to the author, and she's like, this is awesome. But it's because he seems so hot in my head. Like, I can't get past it. He seems so hot.
That's so funny, because I tried to see him as attractive, and I can't.
But he's glamored all the time.
Yeah, but that's not really what he looks like.
I mean, I guess. I don't care. I look different. I don't really look the same under all this makeup I wear. So someone still loves me. I mean, I don't have like golden scars on my face.
I look like a troll all the time. So.
That's not true. But I mean, I do look fairly tired without concealer on, and my husband still loves me. So,
Yeah.
Did you have any revelations, Mindy, or Whitney? I'm sorry. Both of you have brown hair and are both my best friends. One of you tell me your biggest revelation.
Mindy, you go.
So mine was actually that her father was the one that put the bounty on her head.
It was mine too.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I mean, I suspected it a little bit, but it's still surprising, because then why would he pay Gideon to go get her unless...
I think he was trying to off Gideon too. Because remember, Gideon's going to marry in being on that council, essentially.
Yeah, he probably is trying to get rid of him.
He's not any type of royalty or anything like that. Whitney, you having some problems with your mic? You have more problems with your mic.
I realized that it was just like pointing, it was erect, and I wasn't ready for it.
Mine's jutting forward.
As long as I don't find a bead of moisture at the tip, I'll be happy.
So my thing with King Ward, though, is he's got to be the most insecure person in all of the realms.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If you're a good ruler, you don't have to rule with fear and violence and manipulation that he does, right? Because he's obviously using Gideon, but I really think he thought that Gideon would die during that attack.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about the fact that he paid Gideon and like why he would have done that. Unless it was just also just a cover.
Or also just to piss Val off too.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my least favorite moment also. He just... There's nothing redeeming about him at all. Like, there's no...
I hope he fucking dies.
Yeah, like, there's no...
That's awful to say, but it's fiction, so I can say it.
Yeah. Well, when we're talking about Vemdour, like, maybe he has good intentions or honorable motivations or whatever. Like, I feel like there's no possibility of that.
I never thought that about Ward.
Yeah,
ever.
He's just everything about him is bad and horrible, which is a huge bummer for Val.
Yeah, it is. Can I talk more about Vemdour, please? Because we usually talk about our favorite spicy scene, and I'll be honest, the spice scene in this section didn't really do anything for me because it was too closed door. And I have asked Lara Buckheit if the next books are going to have more spice, and she said yes, and I'm very excited about that because we know that she likes a lot of smut with her plot from her previous interview. But I don't know why I find Vemdour so hot. I think it's really because he has like
Me
this.
either.
He has like this Tom Hiddleston swagger, right? He's got that long dark hair. He's got great banter with Val. And I think he's more of a Rhys-Ann than a Tamlin. I don't think Gideon's going to be a Tamlin. I don't.
I hope not.
But I do think that Vemdour's going to have some sort of redemption.
Maybe that's what it is, because I do not find Tom Hiddleston attractive in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, really?
I know.
Have you seen all of the Loki movies, though?
I mean, I've seen pictures of him from those
No,
movies.
you've got it's his banter and his personality as Loki.
Yeah,
it's because
agree
he's
with
super confident. And
I saw him for a little bit. Wasn't he in Ragnarok? I did watch that one.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So I saw him in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
still don't.
But he's also got a really nice accent, and he seems like a nice guy. So
that's why I like Pedro Pascal. But you guys don't like him either. So
yeah. No.
We don't always have to like the same people.
I didn't
I know.
like Pedro.
Apparently, I'm the only person at the table that likes Vemdour.
I think he's hideous.
You know what? When we cover the second book and Vemdour ends up being like this amazing person, I'm going to come back and make you guys listen to this episode.
Well, and I mean, that's fine. But it would take a lot of character development for me to change my feelings.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I can understand that.
And it's the fated mates thing for me. Like, that's really what it is. I like a fated mate. I don't like mates to be rejected. I don't like another third party to come in and do like a weird kind of infidelity thing.
In Vemdour's defense, he has been told that he's betrothed to her. So I think he feels a level of ownership even though she has a fated mate.
Do we believe him, though?
See, I don't know.
Because he's the only one that said that.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that is a good point. But
I mean, it's quite the thing to say and like kind of mold your whole life around if it's not true.
Yeah,
but I mean, something's up with Bastille too. I mean, I don't really trust Bastille, so I worry more about his intentions than Vemdour's, to be honest.
I guess I don't worry about him that much because
he's out of the picture.
Well, not necessarily that, but just that we don't have an opportunity to see him be shady. So I just don't think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe why you're wanting to think that.
Right.
Dem.
Maybe I just assume the worst in everybody. Except for the king of hell, Vemdour.
Right.
So.
Who's obviously a great guy.
Yeah. Right. So, Whitney, why don't you tell us about the great guy sex? Because I know that was your favorite
I loved it.
scene.
I liked it. I said grabbing the headboard, yes, in all capital letters. But I said, I actually was reading over my notes and I was really sassy reading and writing these notes this week. I said, I'm weirdly disappointed Valeria is sneaking out to feed people and not to have sex with Gideon. And then they do. They do have sex. And I wrote in all capital letters, give me more details about the sex. And I underlined sex.
Yeah. Lara, we need more details.
Right.
Please.
I said, I do like him grabbing the headboard. I enjoyed that.
We don't mind the bead on the tip if it's Gideon.
or Vemdour if you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was really sweet. And I like in general, the trope of fated mates where there's like that instant attraction and you're just pulled to each other and you can't help it. And I love it a lot. I just love it.
Was that yours too, Mindy?
No, actually. And it's not Vemdour either. I actually really, really loved when they're sitting there together and Gideon describes what they would be doing if they spent all night together. And all he uses are like single verbs.
Yes, I like that.
There was
too.
something so sexy and hot about that conversation. Like the mystery behind it, but like not the mystery.
Confidence is very attractive.
Yes.
It was kind of similar vibes as Hawk in the Blood Forest.
Yes.
Of like, this is what I would do.
This is what I would do.
Right. Yeah.
Which somehow comes off even hotter than
But you don't find it hot when Vemdour is telling her, like, once you kiss me, you'll never want to kiss anyone else?
No, because I don't trust him the way that I trust Gideon, which maybe that's a mistake.
We don't have any reason to trust Gideon either.
But I think that we
want
do.
to.
No, I think we do because of the fated mate trope, the bond.
Okay.
Like and maybe I'm wrong about how this works in Lara's universe, but for me, if it's a fated mate, then I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you have your mate's best interest at heart.
Okay.
Right? Like
point.
I'm going to trust you as the mate more than I'm going to trust anybody else.
Right.
Which again, maybe that's my mistake.
Right. Well, and I will say one of my questions that I asked to be resolved is the dyad actually what we think it is?
The bond. Mm-hmm. Like, is it actually a mate bond?
Right.
Well, Mistress Marjorie said it was, didn't she?
I honestly don't remember. I write down questions as we're reading, so it could have been.
It might have been in the section before, like last week's episode, but I'm pretty sure that she did.
We don't know everything about her either.
Well, no,
right? She's still
true.
quite the enigma.
Yeah, but
the Grey Witch.
I still trust her too, though, because she's taken care of Val for 18 years.
18
years.
Yeah. So I have to ask then, was your chapter MVP Gideon?
I don't think it was. Oh, wait. Yeah, it was.
Why, Whitney?
Honestly, I feel like I don't even have a good reason other than I just really like Gideon. And I do have a reason. I just really, really liked the coming to her defense and trying to protect her and like reassuring her that he wasn't going to let her dad like beat the crap out of her. Okay. I really, really liked it.
Let me ask you this. So Gideon's your number one. Does Mason still trump Vemdour?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Mason's
you guys have heard me say this before, but Mason would put it in your butt without asking.
I don't think of him like that.
See, I don't either. I don't think he's that bold. I think he would let her stick something in his butt. He's begging for a pegging.
Thank you,
He's
ma'am.
begging for a pegging. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Well, you guys will hear who I fan cast as Mason. I picture him as like a really sweet, charming, young kid that just like can't compete with Gideon or Vemdour, right? Like,
yeah.
But
well, that makes me feel better. I thought maybe something was wrong with your loins.
There's nothing wrong with my loins. No, I wrote down when they find out that Mason was kidnapped. I wrote, of course Mason was kidnapped. I roll. And then I was like, well, maybe I should have a little more sympathy.
You mean he went off the cuff and was impulsive and got himself into trouble? It's shocking. Shocking.
I will say too, special mention for the spicy scene. I really enjoyed the detail because it wasn't really a whole scene, but the detail when Val was thinking about her kiss, her makeout with Gideon, and pleasured herself while she was thinking about it. I was like, "You go, girl!"
I always enjoy reading about self-stimulation.
Yeah.
Well. No one does it better than you.
So, question right back at you, Deb: is your MVP Vemdour?
No, my MVP is actually Malachi.
Oh.
I love Malachi so much because he's just wonderful comedic relief. And I love that he just hooks up with whoever he wants to, whenever he wants to. I feel like every time he walks into the room, he's zipping up his pants, which I find hilarious. He's always tucking in his shirt, zipping up his
like
pants.
fixing his hair.
Or sneaking a kiss down the hallway.
Right. Yeah. He's always coming back from getting some, like, unashamed, right? Which I really love.
I love him too.
I feel like that's accurate.
Yeah.
Mine actually was Mistress Marjorie because not only does she save the day at the meeting and make King Ward look like a total fool by getting through all of his warding and exposing him for the douche he is, she does everything she can to help Valeria. Like, I love the moment she tells Val that she knows she's going to do whatever she wants to do and that she's there to warn her against it, like things have always been.
So Mistress Marjorie is my favorite secondary character.
Mine
almost
too, actually.
Verbatim for all the reasons.
Oh, that's
said.
great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I'm
She's
really
a great
curious
character.
about her character, and I want to find out more about her and what her past is. And
Yeah,
all
she
that.
definitely intrigues me. I have so many questions and just really, really, really want to find out more about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get to see her face at some point. I would like that. You're like, she's sexier with the hood on. Forget it.
So I'm like, put it back. Just put that right back up. Who was your favorite secondary character then, Mindy?
Mine was 2. I love Bex and May.
Every question.
I know. I had 2.
You're like, I have 57. Sorry. No, I'm just.
It's every
Bex,
character.
But these are-
Bex and May
Yeah,
are
these
the
go together.
The
They were her
handmaidens.
The
handmaidens.
2
Yeah.
handmaidens.
Oh,
I
they're
just
so lovely.
love how cute they are when Val asks if they were making out in her room. And they're already so devoted to her. And I just love that she's also so supportive of them.
Yeah. That's like not a big deal if they're
Yeah.
hooking up in the closet or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And I picture when she's like, are you guys making out? I picture them like, oh my gosh, we're going to get fired.
Right.
And she's like, that's so cute. Good job, guys. Like the relief
get
that you would feel,
yours.
you know?
Yeah.
And she even like, I don't know if, I can't remember because I have definitely read ahead. I mean, I read this before
Well,
we started
yeah,
this. I was
sure.
the only one that's read it. But she writes a little note when she goes, well, so it must be this. When she goes to the realm of the Forsaken, she says, you can use my bedroom if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah, I
thought that
wonder
was
if
cute.
King Ward, how he would feel about the handmaidens hooking up. I have a feeling he would probably
I
kill
thought of-
on sight for that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought about that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I just assume that it would not be okay.
I'm going to go ahead and say that he's homophobic, probably.
Well, I was
I
going to say,
mean-
I wonder what he'd think if he knew Malachi was bi.
Yeah, I don't think it's
yeah.
I don't think that's a stretch to think that he's probably homophobic and
Right.
would. Yeah.
So speaking of the king, I did want to tell you guys what my favorite quote has been so far. And this was what Val said to the king. Better a whore with a heart than a monster without a conscience.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And I mean, I don't even need to explain why I love that so much.
Yeah.
Right. And she's not a whore. And even if she was,
Sure.
she's not hurting anything or anybody. So just, let her be her. But yeah, he's absolutely the worst.
Yeah, he really is.
Mine was a quote to the king as well, but it was from Mistress Marjorie. I love when she says, touch her again and I'll burn this castle to the ground before you realize your flesh is melting.
That is a really good
The Witch
thread.
of the Grey.
Yeah.
I
man,
love it.
oh
Yeah.
man, can you just see that?
Yeah, that was a really good thread. I like that a lot. My favorite quote is a bummer. But I
But
picked
it came from Gideon, so it's
no,
fine.
it came from Val.
Okay.
But I just feel like it shows a lot about her character and the things that she has gone through and maybe a contributing factor to some of her poor decisions. But she says that I am only wanted where there was a use for me. Where she feels so unloved by her dad, and
She is, unfortunately.
she thinks Gideon only came for her because he was getting paid to, and people only want her around because they can use her for who she is or
Well, and same
what
with
she is or
Vemdour.
whatever.
She's not
Yes,
wrong,
exactly.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's really not.
Yeah. And it's difficult to feel so isolated like that. And I feel like that really is a big contributing factor to the bad decisions that what I think are bad decisions.
Right. She makes a lot of bad
The
decisions.
selfish, like you were talking about, being so mean to Gideon for no reason. Although I will say that one of the things that I felt for her a little bit with Malachi and Sable, I did write down, I wish that they would cut her some slack a little bit because she doesn't know him.
Yeah.
Right? She's got this dyad or whatever, but she doesn't
But
know
she can
him.
still
right?
be nice. And she's not
Well,
very
sure.
nice to him.
Sure. But they come at it, I felt like, from a very, very you have no idea. It's no, she doesn't. That's the point,
Yeah.
right? So
Could you go ahead and
cut
tell her?
cut her some
Right.
slack, But yeah, I felt for her, and I thought that quote really summed up her experience.
I mean, I would say, to go back to my deep dive, I think any woman in power feels that way, that you're a pawn, no one takes you seriously, you can't get to where you need to be without working much harder than other people have to, and she's in a tough situation, which I think, she gets a little power hungry with Vemdour for that reason, because she thinks
Yeah.
it's the only way she's going to get power. Mm-hmm. What do they say on Dumbo? The power was within you all along.
Do they say that on Dumbo?
Something
I do
like
not.
that.
I don't
I barely
know.
remember that movie.
You know why I know that? Because Ruby quotes it on Supernatural to
Oh.
not Jared. What's his name in fake life? Sam.
Sammy.
Sammy.
What about any questions that you guys have going into the final section
so
of the
many
book?
I
know,
do
I do too.
too. I do too. You go-
My biggest one is just, is she really going to go dark side? That's what I wrote down. And then
I put, is she going to be the bad guy?
I know. I don't want her to be.
Well, mine that I asked in relation to Vemdour is she feels a pull to him. So what is that pull, and why does she only feel it when he's glamored as a human?
That's a good question.
That's a good point.
It's just a very odd.
Is it because he's ugly the other way?
Maybe.
Fuck you. Again, I wouldn't be able to see past his glamour, so I'm okay with it. Right?
Like, put the hood back up.
Where's the paper bag again?
Do you all have any questions about Caden? Like, I'm still confused as to why he attacked. I'm confused. Like, what does he know? Why is Vemdour helping him?
Right. Why is he in the background when he like slaughtered everybody?
Right.
Like,
right.
is this a grand plan and he's actually working with his dad somehow?
Right.
Like, what is the bigger picture here?
Is he in the background because he's hiding or because he's just a pawn? Like, yeah, I agree. He's supposed to be this big bad and he's isn't.
Definitely a mystery.
Yeah.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Deb, did you have questions?
Yeah, I want to know more about Mistress Marjorie. Like, what is the Witch of the Grey? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Because it's referenced several times. I'm also wondering if Val's mom had a dyad with Bastille, because there's something there that feels very fated mates to me, and I can't quite figure that out. I'm really curious, too, what the dagger necklace is actually for. It's brought up a lot, and all we know so far is that it's protecting Val, but is it really protecting her in the way that she thinks it is? Because she's just been told what it does and has really little proof that that's actually what it's doing.
She has blind faith with that necklace.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then I have a lot of questions about Valeria's stepmom, too. Is she good or evil?
I do too. Yeah.
I wrote the same thing. Like, what's her MO? Why is she even with the king? I just don't trust her.
I know. I don't either, because she doesn't seem horrible, but
she's willing to have sex with that guy and create an heir for him.
Right. Yeah.
And she knows that King Ward is trying to change the law so that her heir can be.
Right.
At the very least, she's social climbing and, like
greedy.
power hungry.
Yeah.
Right.
Greedy and power
but
hungry.
I feel like
sure.
there's something more there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I have questions about her too. What about what you guys are looking forward to?
I need to know who I'm actually rooting for here. Everybody's bad.
Yeah.
Everybody's morally gray, which I do really enjoy.
Right.
But who am I actually rooting for? And then I really want to see the king's ass handed to him. I want him to die graphically. It's gonna I mean, I really do.
In this book, not in the next book or not have it be drawn out.
Soon, right? I'm really getting tired of his shit. And
he sucks.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I have two things. One is that I'll just read what I wrote. I'm looking forward to choosing Gideon, please. That's the first thing that I wrote down. But I'm also
Vemdour.
I'm looking forward to Mistress Marjorie being reunited with Val, or Val being reunited with her, and Mistress Marjorie kind of like reaming Val out for the choices that she's made.
Yeah.
And like, I tried to give you advice.
Going mom mode.
Yeah. Like, I tried to tell you what you needed to do and what you should not do. And you didn't listen to me. And now look at all this stuff that's happened. I'm looking forward to that. I hope that it happens. Because what I'm afraid of is that it's just going to be like, I'm so happy that you're all right, my love. Of course.
My love.
Of course you made mistakes. That's what growing up is all about. And then, like, just giving a hug and moving
That doesn't
moving
sound
along.
very Mistress Marjorie.
Well, no, it doesn't. But you never know.
She seems like if you're called the witch of something, it's usually because you hold a vendetta.
Yeah.
I would like a reunion as well. I'm looking forward to Val and Gideon's reunion. I just want to see what that's going to be all about. But also, wait, you're going to like this one though, Deb. I also really want to see what else she can do with her power. Like, I want to see how dark she can go.
I want to see she and Vemdour have sex. The power is within you.
It is now.
One thing I thought about her power too is I kind of feel bad to even say this. I don't necessarily trust that everything that she's being able to do is her own power, and that Vemdour is not somehow like channeling power to her.
Yeah.
But maybe that makes me feel like I'm being a bad feminist or something. Like, well, of course the girl couldn't have the power.
I would
You know what I mean?
why he would do that. Would it be to keep her there?
To make her feel like maybe like, well, look, when you're here with me, look what you can do.
Yeah.
Look what I helped you with.
Well, that makes sense too, because why wouldn't it ever come up? I mean, does it not come up? Well, they can use magic
comes up.
They can use magic in the mortal realm because
Mistress Marjorie
does.
yeah.
So like, it seems like in all those years, wouldn't she have like accidentally willed something?
Anything.
Yeah. You know?
Unless Mistress Marjorie is just that much more powerful than everybody else.
Warding her from being able to use her
that's
powers.
true. That's true too.
Yeah.
So what other tidbits did you guys want to talk about? Because I have a couple.
I want to talk about Vemdour's bits.
Tidbits. That means small. I don't think you want Vemdour to be.
I highly doubt if he can glamour himself to look beautiful that he has a small dick.
One little thing that I just noticed was the Empyrean realm does not have electricity.
Yeah, I wrote that down too.
And I was like, because I did not put that together.
What were you like? You sound like Scooby.
I didn't put that together in the first section at all when she first arrived to Empyrean. So I don't know if I just like read over that and missed it
why
or
would
what.
you create it like the mortal realm and not have electricity?
That's what I was wondering.
Right.
Too.
Well, and then it made me, I thought that too. And then I thought about from Blood and Ash when the Ascended, like they could have electricity and they choose not to. And then I thought maybe it was a
to
person.
keep people in line.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if anybody would do that, Ward would.
That makes a whole
Right?
lot of sense. But I love how she said about the realm of the Forsaken. So this shithole has electricity, but
right. And
doesn't.
I know. I was like, what? Totally didn't notice that at all. But then the other thing, I did a little deep dive on the idea of soulmates. You did a thing on soulmates, Mindy, and I kind of went in a different direction. This was a little bit of a selfish deep dive, I guess, because this whole idea of Bastille choosing a mate or a soulmate or whatever for other people and giving them this dyad, giving them this bond, that reads to me like a very Christian idea, which I thought was kind of strange given like the lore and the mythology. So I wanted to think about, is that actually this idea of a soulmate that, you know, God chooses your person for you as like his will for your life? Is that actually a Christian idea, or is that more of a cultural Christian idea, like an American Christian thing that we've kind of appropriated? And I say we because I am a Christian. This is why this is a selfish deep dive, because I just wanted to think about that, because in this book, there's a lot of religious overtones, undertones. It's a big part of the plot, right?
Right.
And it's just, there's a lot of parallels that I see to like American Christianity, which I don't know is intentional, but they're the parallels that I see because that's what I am familiar with. I did a deep dive into whether or not this idea of God choosing your partner for you, or quote soulmate, is this Christian or is it an American Christian idea? So the first place I went was to the Christian Bible. I found only 2 verses that seem to support this idea of God choosing your mate or partner. So the first one is from Mark, the Gospel of Mark in the New Testament. Jesus is talking and he says, "Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate." So if God joins you together, that feels like a pretty clear indication that it would make sense. God is choosing these 2 people for each other, right? Which goes along with Bastille choosing 2 people for each other. That is not actually what it says, that God is choosing them, right? But I get why people would come to that conclusion. Like God is involved somehow. Pretty cut and dry. It's in the Bible, so that would make it a Christian belief.
My question
right?
would be is, how do you know if that's the person that God chose for you? You don't have a dyad.
Well, this is a whole theological thing, but theoretically, if you got married, just that act of getting married, that in the Christian religion, marriage is a covenant, and the fact that you make that covenant, God is putting that together. Like that's a promise that you made to
but how
God.
do you know that was the person that God intended for you? That's my question.
Well, that's kind of what I'm looking up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the other verse that I found is actually in Song of Solomon, the spicy book of the Bible.
The sexy book of the Bible.
Yeah, it's in the Old Testament. It is pretty smutty for Christianity. So this is chapter 3, verse 4 in Song of Songs or Song of Solomon. It says, "I have found the one whom my soul loves."
You see that quoted all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I start thinking, well, what is a soul? For your soul to love someone else, which I've talked about, I think it was last week. But Mindy, you did your deep dive in season 2 about heartmates and soulmates, which I thought was a really beautiful look at the lore, the mythology of soulmates being basically 2 halves of the same soul. So this verse seems to really point to that idea of your soul belonging to somebody else rather than pointing to the idea of God choosing a mate for you. right? So then when I looked up what a soul is, it goes back to the idea of just being a living being. So in the book of Genesis, God talks about the book of Genesis talks about God breathing life into a body that he created, and that breath of life made Adam alive. And then therefore he was the first person. So really a soul isn't something separate from the person, the physical body itself. It's not like God made a body and then like placed a soul in it. Your whole being is a soul. Like it's not a separate thing. It's just part of who you are as a living person. So you can look at this in two ways. One is that if we weren't given a soul dropped into our physical bodies, then you can't have a soulmate. You can't have the other half of your soul because there isn't one. Right. Which is kind of a bummer. So they're kind of in that reading of it, that interpretation, there's not any theological foundation to believe in soulmates. So if you're talking about a Christian or religious belief, if you don't have the theological basis, then it's not a Christian belief, right? Because that just doesn't work that way. Or you can look at it as the fact that I am a living human makes my entire being a soul. I am a soul just by being a person, and choosing a partner or a mate makes them my soul mate.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So there can't be another person that is your other half or completes you, because that's like usurping the role that God is supposed to have in a Christian way of thinking. So the whole idea of God being omniscient plays into this. Like he knows you better than you know yourself, and he can choose a partner for you better than you could choose a partner for you because he knows you so well, right? Being a part of his will, right, is a very Christian idea. But I think based on this research overall, I feel like this whole idea of like the Christian idea of God choosing your soulmate is a lot more cultural American Christianity.
Yeah, definitely.
And does not have actual like theological basis.
I would love to hear from some other listeners though with different religions about
I would too.
what they have to say about soulmates.
Yeah, because as I said at the outset, I went the selfish route of like my religious background. So I didn't do a whole thing with other religions too. So I come to this conclusion that there's no real foundation for this to be a truly Christian idea. However, anecdotally, when I met my husband, I would say that both of us felt a pull to each other.
Yeah.
And both of us felt like we had known each other for way longer than we actually have. And both of us felt that weird, like hard to explain feeling of like, no, you're just the right person.
Right.
We both felt that. Right. And we started
goes into that whole like when you know
exactly
mentality.
Right. And we started talking about getting married a week after we started dating.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
That's really
like
sweet.
a week after we started dating. So we just had this gut feeling that we were meant for each other. And there are a lot of people, both within the Christian religion and outside of the Christian religion, that share that same kind of experience of when you know, right?
Yeah.
So I find that very thought provoking, because it's like, okay, if you're thinking about your religion, right, and you're supposed to focus on your religious text for the foundation of the things that you believe, how do you combat your actual experience if it doesn't fit what your religious text says? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
If your religion goes against that, or your experience goes against it, rather. So bringing this back into a realm of ash and shadow, you have Val and Gideon having this pull to one another, this heat between them that they can't really explain outside of we have a dyad, we're soulmates, therefore we have this pull, right? It fits that anecdotal experience that I have and a lot of other people have in the real world of meeting their person. You have this whole idea that the god Bastille handpicked soulmates for people and bonded them to each other. But what would the purpose of that be? Like, why do any people in this ash and shadow world have a soulmate or need a soulmate? Like, why does Bastille need to do this with anybody? What's the point? Mistress Marjorie says that it's a gift from Bastille.
Well, and we don't see any
other people.
soulmates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have just these two people.
Yeah.
So like, what's up with that? Is it just a gift? Like, is Mistress Marjorie right? It's just a like, here you go, icing on the cake of a great life, right?
Yeah.
Or is there a deeper meaning to have a soulmate in this world? What is Bastille getting out of giving a soulmate or giving a dyad to two people? What is the point?
That's
right?
a great question.
Thank you. and what would it mean to reject your soulmate? So with ACOTAR, we see that rejecting your fated mate has real consequences. Rhysand tells Feyre, like males especially, if their mates reject them, they can literally lose their minds. Right? There are real consequences
It's
to
such
that.
a guy thing. A woman didn't like me. I think I'll go
The
crazy.
woman's fine. Right?
Right, exactly.
It's
She's like,
not a big deal.
Moving on, you fucking
Right. I just
stalker.
didn't like you. It's really not that serious. But what does that look like in this world, right? If it's true that this person is your actual soulmate and is the other half of you, like, why would you ever want to reject that mate? Why would you even be tempted to reject that mate? There's more questions. And it made me think about choice versus free will versus, a God's plan and the fates. Like, is Val does she have any choice with Gideon truly? Or is there some higher power like Bastille or whoever, fate, whatever you want to call it, making all of these plans and making all these things happen because they have this dyad?
I would say any religion or story that has the capability of free will can break all of that. I mean, same thing.
Yeah.
If soulmates were a thing in Christianity is still based within free will. So
sure,
you could have a soulmate and
never be with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Which is kind of a bummer to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is a bummer.
But yeah, that's just do we have soulmates? Maybe not. But I think we do. Because I have one.
Aww, Whitney, that's really
I
sweet.
love that.
I like him.
Shout out to Robbie.
Shout out to Robbie, he may listen to this. He's going to truffle a lot.
You're just trying to get laid.
I don't need to try.
Did you have any other tidbits or anything?
No, I didn't.
Well, one thing we never really got into in this section, it was kind of a big deal, was when they snuck out to feed the poor. And while they're out there...
and not have sex.
That's the one time that Whitney brought it up. So they go out to feed the poor, and Gideon pulls her into this alleyway to like explain to her everything that's going on about the rebellion and whatnot. And then they get attacked by a specter. And this is actually a really cool scene because it totally, of course, reminded me of Supernatural.
Yes.
Because, specters show up and
Can I just say, what I was thinking of when I was reading this is, have you ever seen that little drawing of their, like, why don't Sam and Dean just put salt in the hula hoops and carry them around with them? And it's like they're holding the hula hoops and Dean's like, come on, Sammy, we have work to do.
I love that.
Protect themselves.
But that is exactly how they ward off ghosts and spirits in Supernatural. And that's how they do it here, is they use salt. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like, who said, let's throw some salt over there?
Yeah.
There are all sorts of fascinating information about salt and supernatural beings. So I just wanted to kind of cover a few of them. I have some weird ones, and then I have some that are semi-serious, but not really. So most everyone's kind of heard of the old wives' tale that throwing salt over your left shoulder will protect you from bad luck. And this actually originates in some cultures from the belief that the devil is always standing behind you.
Ew.
Creepy, right? And
That's worse than my ghost.
I know. And that the salt will distract him and keep him from interfering with your life. So like, it's like shiny object, throw the salt, and he's like, oh, salt.
That's like Faye.
That's like the last week when we were talking about demons, though I can't remember which one it was, but the Mesopotamian lurking demon. Ooh, that's a creepy thought. I don't like
super creepy.
I don't like it.
Also used in many non-Christian religions, salt, they believe that the purity of the salt will repel ghosts and evil spirits because salt is like a pure form of the elements.
Like a rock, an element. Yeah. It's a mineral, not a rock.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
In Asia, you can put a baggie of salt in your car and you can they'll help keep you safe on your journey.
But then I have salt
baggie of
spilled
salt?
in my car all the time.
I feel like, all the French fries on the floor, that counts, right?
covers it. That makes me think of the episode of New Girl where she thinks she has a bag of meth in her beanbag, but it's like some random thing that's not whatever it was. I feel like that I would be like, but the people will think these are drugs. It's like very obviously salt.
Yes. In Hinduism, a particularly malevolent spirit called a bhoot tends to attack women, and this one's scary, tends to attack women and children who have just eaten sweets. So you should put a little
crap.
Right?
It's like some bullshit.
I know. I'm like, fuck, I'm screwed.
Yeah, I'm always in danger.
You should always put a little salt on your tongue to chase the sweetness away.
I prefer salty sweets though, like peanut butter cups. So maybe
Well,
that's
yeah,
why.
so if
maybe
we
that's why
have-
I'm never attacked.
If we just have like Reese's,
Yeah. Or you're like
Or-
caramel pretzel sundae.
Yeah.
then
All
I'm
right.
So you just
then
gotta-
it's
yeah.
okay.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Just add some pretzels to all my sweets. That's fine.
I might have to put away the gummy worms though. So I guess if you did
We just finished off a bag of gummy worms in my
Dip
car
your
today.
gummy worms in salt.
well, I was gonna say you could do the sour ones. Maybe that would work.
That's sugar, isn't it?
It's still yeah,
that's
it's
not
not really
salt.
salty, it's just sour. Okay, that won't work. So moving on, the Roman Catholics use salt to make holy water, which is useful for exposing and repelling demons. And not salt related, but I thought this was kind of funny. Grab a carrot, a replica of the Washington Monument, or any other phallic object.
dildo?
Because according to the Romans, these will seduce the evil spirit away from you. But then you might have a possessed carrot, so it's a trade-off.
It would like go into the phallic object.
Yes.
Oh, so the carrot is
about-
an example of a phallic object. I
What
thought you meant like a
about-
carrot
okay.
and a phallic
Oh,
object.
no.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
use the word seduce and phallic objects. So what about the phallic objects I keep in my bedroom?
That's what I
Do
said.
those have evil spirits inside
Quite
them?
possibly.
Maybe.
You may have possessed
That's
dildos
why.
in your drawer.
That's why I like Vemdour.
I was going to say, yeah, call him Vemdour
So
and Vecna.
there's another list that I found that these are just like weird salt superstitions, but that I thought were super funny. And this is from a website called Homespun Haints, which just sounds wrong.
Between the fellers and the haints, I don't know where you're. What internet are you on?
Homespun Heights. We got some fellers up here.
I don't even know what a haint is. It's supposed to be a
It sounds like tea.
spirit. It does. It definitely does. That's exactly where I went. But
We are children.
all right. So anyway, these are just funny. So you salt the lid of your butter churn to keep witches out of your butter.
Why do witches want to be in my butter?
I don't know, but
I'm not a witch and I love butter.
Ask the Scots because that comes from Aberdeen, Scotland.
Oh, that does sound like a Celtic thing.
We can't let the witches into our butter.
This one is from an unknown source. Sprinkle salt over an enemy while they are sleeping, or the grave of one of their ancestors. That's oddly specific.
Yikes.
To cast a spell to make them less annoying.
Oh,
If my enemy sprinkles salt on me and I find out, I'm going to be more annoying.
Right?
because you're just annoying. Gosh. Like, I mean, I guess there could be more mean motivations besides just you annoy me, but that's still not nice.
If you're in the Ukraine or Bavaria, you might want to lick your child's forehead to see if it tastes salty to detect the evil eye.
There is no telling what is on my child's forehead.
Have
Either
you seen
one of my
how
kids.
bad my kids sweat? Their forehead would always
I was
be
going to
salty.
say, that's what I was going to say. People sweat there the most. Like, it's always going to taste salty. It's just nasty, yeah.
Ew.
Also, my husband used to eat and drink after the kids when they were little, and I'm like, that is so fucking gross. I cannot. Like all the shit that's like on their face and on their mouth, and then they're like backwashing
little
and
mini petri
So I'm
dishes.
definitely not licking their forehead. Sorry, kids, you're just going to have to live with the evil eye.
This one's this is from England, and it's very supernatural. Just put salt in the coffin to keep the body from getting possessed.
Well, sure.
Just, you know.
Yeah, it'd be pretty scary if your dead uncle was just walking around and he's
Yeah.
like, "I'm Barbara."
No,
They're like, "Damn it, we didn't put salt in the coffin."
dang. This one, I feel bad for the kids in this list.
Yeah, do all these people hate their children?
Rub your 8-day-old infant with salt to protect them from demons. That's what they did in ancient Rome.
Have you ever had a salt scrub though? No, it would not feel good on a baby.
I was
I was
gonna
going to say, my
It
poor
would
kid had
intense.
eczema. He'd be like, fuck this
Right.
shit.
It can,
Yeah.
A salt scrub can be intense, but they're awesome.
Yeah.
Don't do it to a baby, please.
Yeah, that would hurt.
That's not nice.
And we're back to the butter. If you find butter on the barn door and suspect that a witch put it there, first, this is a step by step. First, load your gun with salt. Then shoot the butter so you can keep the cows.
Shoot the butter.
Yeah, you shoot the butter with the loaded salt
Salt
gun,
gun.
so you can keep the cows healthy and uncursed.
Oh man.
If anyone from a Scottish or Celtic or Irish background can tell us why they're so worried about witches and please send us a note. I really need to know.
What's going on with your all's butter?
Yeah.
I might be able to actually ask. The guy that officiated my wedding is from Aberdeen, Scotland.
Can you find out what the thing with witches and butter is?
He's probably going to be like, that
entertain
is so
this question.
Stupid.
Yeah, he'd probably be like, I have never heard that. That's not a real thing.
So just a couple more. This one says, this is from Ireland. Say the Lord's Prayer 3 times each over 3 lines of salt.
Cocaine.
On a table. To perform a fairy exorcism.
Oh, a fairy exorcism.
Well, they say if you spill salt, it will stop a fairy in their tracks because they stop and count the crystals.
Oh yeah, I remember that from Supernatural.
Yeah.
And speaking of Supernatural, from that show,
yes,
use salt as a weapon against literally any kind of paranormal being.
Everything. Yeah.
Seriously, the salt and the hula hoop.
And in fact, using salt against demons is still practiced today. A 38-year-old man from you know where,
Florida, yeah,
entered a Walmart and poured salt all over the floor and his feet to ward off evil spirits.
Oh my gosh!
He couldn't take the salt home or out into the parking lot.
It had to be in the Walmart.
Just don't
sacred space.
Don't go. Don't go to Walmart because that's where all the evil spirits are.
Yeah, Sam Walton, we trust.
Man, what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being at that Walmart when that happened?
God, I wish.
Just
no, they
would
have been like, oh, it's just another Florida day around here. At least there's not a crocodile or someone naked.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you for that, Mindy. That scene reminded me a lot of Supernatural too, especially with the we got to find the body, and take care of.
How they set her free. I love that.
Right. Yes, so that this spirit is not
trapped.
Stuck anymore.
But seriously, witches and butter and salt. I need to know. I'm so
salted
confused.
Butter is a delight.
Delicious.
Yeah. Well, were there any other tidbits about the book?
No.
Shall we move
much
on?
happens in this book.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to our nerdiest thing of the week?
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I can go. Sharissa Weeks, who we're going to have on the podcast soon, I'm on her art team, and she did a cover reveal a couple of weeks ago, but we got this really special book mail from her that had a really nice card from her, and she calls her street team the Rebels. And if you've read the Witchwalker series, you'll understand why. But I got this really lovely book mail with the cover in there and a sweet little note, and it made my day.
Oh, that's nice.
Awesome.
It's funny, the authors that work with art teams, it's nice to get advanced copies of the books.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it's those little things that really do make a big difference and makes you. I'm going to support her anyway, but then you're oh, she wants to support us too.
Yeah.
And it means a lot. So
makes you feel connected.
Yeah. Shout out to
That's nice.
Sharissa Weeks.
Love it.
The Witchwalker series. Go read it. It's awesome.
What about you, Mindy?
Well, I ended up in the hospital last weekend.
Boo.
I'm fine. It was a kidney infection. They kind of freaked out over. It's not that bad. But while I'm in the hospital, which I was not expecting, I did actually take my Kindle with me because I knew if I was going to the hospital, I was going to be sitting there for a while, right?
Yeah.
And then my husband came once they admitted me, and he's sitting there, and I just wanted him to leave so that I could read. I tried so
Shout out to Dan.
Leave me and my infected kidney be.
I know. I was like, he's just sitting there. He's trying to be nice. He's trying to do nice things for me. And all I want to do is read. I'm like, can you please leave?
You know what, though? Here's the thing. If you're a reader, you know not to interrupt someone's reading.
So, Whit, what about you?
Well, I have 2. I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago that I mentioned my sister kept
shout out to Catherine
kept giving me those historical fiction recommendations. And so I was talking to her today on my way over here actually, and I told her you have a shout out that we did last week. It'll be coming out soon, whatever. And I told her, I said, I'm pretty sure I was just dissing your book recommendations. And she was like, she told me this. I've never heard this story before. She was in Vegas with her husband on a work trip, and they went to a David Copperfield show, and she got called up on stage, and David Copperfield was making small talk with her and asked her what she likes to read. And she said historical fiction, and he made fun of her.
Poor Catherine.
like on stage in front of all these people. And I was like, that is hilarious.
Rude, actually.
I know, right? She was like, it was actually really funny. And he thought, right off the cuff. And she was impressed with his.
Though, creatives that make fun of other creatives.
I know, right?
Because his whole thing
It's just shtick
is
for
fiction and showmanship too.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, come on, bro.
It's just like a shtick thing for
yeah.
on stage stuff. But I thought that was
Why
funny.
does your shtick have to be being a douche, though?
Now, see, you guys are making me feel mean because I was like, haha, that's funny.
I'm talking about him pulling her up on stage.
In front of a huge audience. It's one thing.
I thought it was funny. Well, Catherine, here you go. You got sympathy.
But those books still aren't good. Sorry.
I'm still not going to read that. But that's fine because she's not going to read the books that I'm reading either. So, but my other nerdy thing, everyone will be really happy to hear that I finally did get to see the Barbie movie.
Yay,
I went with one of our friends who has little kids, and she and I were both like, whew, this is hitting close to home. But it was really good. It was really good. And I cried in the car on the way home. And then when I got home, Robbie was like, how was the movie? And I started crying and literally was like, you wouldn't understand. Just like, I just was like, you wouldn't get it. Don't worry about it. It was really good. It was really, really good.
Kaylin Barron, who we met at Imaginarium, and I love her books, but she posted something the other day. It said, hey guys, if Ken in the Barbie movie made you feel uncomfortable, you're so close. You're really onto something, honey.
Right.
I wanted to like go and like
so close to the point. Right. Yeah.
And it makes us feel uncomfortable because we're not used to those tables being turned.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I have been rocking out to I'm Just Ken ever since I saw the movie.
Damn it. Now that's stuck in my
It
head.
is such
you know
a
what's been
I love
and
that
I've seen
song.
that movie twice. You know what song has been stuck in my head since I watched it? Matchbox 20.
I did really enjoy that detail in the movie. But yeah, it was really, really good. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's made over like $1 billion. It's insane. So, well, I think that's it. That's it for this episode. Next week is part 3. We will be talking about A Realm of Ash and Shadow, chapters 25 through 43 with the author herself, Lara Buckheit.
Ooh, can't wait.
She's so fun.
Yeah, she is. Bye, everybody.
Bye.